So we are live, and I just was just wondering, is it just me or yes, the world is constantly changing, but it feels like n- right now the it changing at a much faster pace than it used to do. So that's why we are live here and we are going to talk about change, the constant variable in our lives, and we are live on Instagram, YouTube, and also LinkedIn. So, welcome everybody. Just in case you don't know me, my name is Caroline Grégoire, and I love helping impact driven leaders find meaning, clarity, and joy at work so that they have the time and the energy to live their life to the fullest. I do so in English, French, German, and Swedish. I'm originally from Canada, now based in Portugal. I've lived for many years. I've lived and worked for many years in Germany and also in Sweden. I have a background as an actuary and also a risk manager, and I've worked for more than 20 years in the insurance, reinsurance, and consulting business in different leadership roles and mostly in international environments. I've been working as a coach, mentor, trainer, and keynote speaker for the last 8 years. And I focus my work on topics like leadership, self leadership, resilience, communication, and culture. Just a little something about one of my hobbies. In 2024, I became the Portuguese vice champion in figure skating. And actually, the 2025 championship is taking place in 2 weeks. So let's see what will happen. So, and today I won't be alone to talk about change. I have a guest, and she has 20 years of experience within the IT and finance sectors. She held senior leadership roles at Lowell and Tieto Every. She's a change leadership expert and a coach who helps leaders navigate transformation with clarity, confidence, and a people centered approach. She has always been inspired by creativity, possibilities, and bold expression. That may be because she's a proud Färhandlar dotter, the proud daughter of a paint shop owner. So please welcome directly from Sweden, my friend Hanna Zaxmy. Welcome, Hanna.
Thank you, Carolyn. Nice to be here.
Yeah, I'm very excited about our conversation. I think it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And maybe, yeah, maybe to understand the context for everybody, Hannah and I have known each other for almost 9 years now. We met at the leadership training in Stockholm. It was in May 2016. I checked in my notes, and we can say that since many things have changed, both for you and for me.
Yeah, definitely.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I was looking at our bios, and I found that they are we have various things in common. So one of them is we have 20 years of experience in the corporate world, and rather in sectors that are very like process orientated, maybe like number crunching, logical, rational, UIT and finance, and for me, like actuarial and insurance. We are both coaches and entrepreneurs, and we both grew up in entrepreneurial families. I said it about you, Hannah. You're the proud daughter of the paint shop owner, and I am the proud daughter of a former owner of a hand tools factory. It still exists, but it doesn't belong to the family anymore. And as we can see, we both love strong colors. I have a strong tendency for red, but you chose a wonderful blue. So to put us in the context, I mentioned it before. It's part of the title. We live in a constant changing world, and often when we hear the word change, sometimes we feel like, oh, a little fear maybe sometimes, because I recall at the beginning of the year, I was watching a video from an astrologer, I have to say, and he said 2025, it's the year of change. And I recall that I felt like, oh my God. And he said, he was almost talking to me because notice what you had like for as an emotion or feeling now. And I thought, oh yeah, I noticed it was a little bit of a fear, because some when we think about change, we kind of know, oh, we're going to have to leave something behind, something that we knew, to move forward in something that is unknown. And sometimes we don't even get to decide whether we have to go through a change or not. But actually, it's just part of the human experience, because every day is just the unknown, more or less. And just to keep in mind for everybody listening right now, we and Hannah and I, we talked shortly about that. Just to keep in mind, there is the Maslow hierarchy of needs that I'm showing here just shortly, and these needs, they explain how we behave. And I'm not gonna go through all of it, but just at the bottom we have the physiological needs. That's the one we want to have met first. Let's say like sleeping, eating, having a roof above our head. And the second one right above is safety. We want to feel what is familiar, what is stable, maybe employment, family situation, or health, or the environment in which we live. And I think it's a very interesting picture because there's someone else, Tony Robbins, who also has a list of needs that he means that we all have. And I'm just going to take the same as before, and I'm just going to add one of the items that Tony Robbins added to that. And he said, yes, we need safety, but we need variety as well. And maybe we all need variety, but we may all need it to different extents. Some like it more than others. Um, our conversation is going to be in two parts. The first one, we will look more into and talk about um, change more within an organization from the perspective of the organization. And maybe for the individual, it will mean it's a change that the individual didn't choose, because maybe it's a merger, maybe it's a spin-off, maybe it's a new management, maybe there are new reporting lines, redundancies, something like this. And then in the second part of our conversation, we will look more into, like, still on a professional aspect, but more at the individual level. So before we hear more from Hannah, I would like to ask um, people listening right now. I have a question for you. On a scale from 1 to 10, how comfortable are you with change? Um, One would be, I stick to stability 24/7, and a 10 would be like I adapt every second, just bring it on. I love change. So, on a scale from 1 to 10, how comfortable are you with change? One, it's just stability, and 10, change all the time. I'm just curious to hear about that. I mean, I know it can depend. I guess it depends on what it is for change, but I know it takes a little while before we see the answers. Mike Smith, he wrote before that he would like to see some green and yellow. Thank you, Mike. Mike, yeah, you said between a 1 and a 3. Okay. And Patrick, also, you said a 3. Okay. Um, Really funny thing. I live with a man who doesn't like change. And last week, I wrote a newsletter to my community to inform them about the life that we are having today. And I chose the title of my email, How Uncomfortable Are You with Change? And he opened the email when we were sitting at a cafe together, and he was scrolling and looking at his emails. And he looks at me and said, "Did you have me in mind when you wrote this title?" I said, "Of course I did." I see another answer. Angelica wrote 8. So, Angelica, you like more variety. Thank you so much for sharing this. Now, let's get to our conversation. I said that we will first start with, change more at an organizational level. And this is something that I have to say myself, I have not experienced, let's say, in the sense that I never worked in a company where all of a sudden I was told, okay, your job doesn't exist anymore, or from tomorrow you're going to work in another department. I've been lucky. Maybe I was always working in companies where that were growing. There were small changes happening here and there, but I was not directly affected by them. I witnessed clients and friends, of course, who went through changes like this, and I know that you, Hannah, you did. And what else? Maybe the experience that affected you the most that you would like to share with us.
Yeah, I have had both the sort of the pleasure and also the struggle in one way to sit on both sides of the table. I have been also the manager that has been presenting this organization changes and communicate that to employees at the company and to my team, etc. But I have also sit on that other side of the table where I have received that information that, okay, so from today, basically right now, your role is not here anymore. And you are also not part of the company anymore since we have doing this redundancy in that sense. And yes, sometimes you can, so to say, can feel and sense that something is happening, and you know that how it goes for the company. Sometimes you don't know at all, because that is a decision from the top board, and it's more like a strategy change, and you can't do anything about it. So yes, I've been sitting there, and well, I would say that first thought I had was, okay, why me? Why now? And shit, what will happen now? That was like, if we take this pyramid that you showed before, it's like, okay, the ground is shaking a bit. So where can I get stability? That was really the feeling first. So all emotions was there, even though you maybe sit there really stone face and like take it in, but on the inside it's like a roller coaster, I would say.
Mm, mm, mm,
So yeah, so that and I in the end I would say I'm happy for getting those kind of changes, because in the end it has turned out really well for me, and so, but uh, I also am happy for them because I understand more now when, if I'm
mm,
leading a change or sitting on the other side of the table as a manager or so, to really be able to support that person better in that sense, because it's definitely a change and they can't do anything about it. It's just happening in that sense.
mhm, mhm. Yeah, you've been there and done the work. Mm,
Yeah, yeah.
uh, mm. If we split your two experiences, and we first think about the experience where you were told from tomorrow, your job doesn't exist anymore. What was, if you look back at everything that has happened, or what was the most important learning out of that?
Yeah, I think this has, in one way, happened twice for me. And
Hmm.
I would say that the first time it was a really struggle for me. It took weeks before I really calmed down, I would say. And I think it was the lessons I have been learning from that. And now when I'm reflecting back on it, it's more that back in the days, I had a really strong connection with my identity and my role. So here in Sweden, when you meet a new person, it's like, hello, what's your name? And you present that. And the next question is always, okay, so what do you do? What do you work with? That is
Mm.
the next question. And and for me, that was really tied to like, I am Hanna and this is my role, and that is who I am. I would say that, and I think that so my identity and my role was so tightly connected to me, and that was the hard thing, I think. Why it took a longer time for me to adjust to the new world where I didn't have that role, but I'm still me. But that took a while to understand that or sink in.
Mm, 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 mm.
Mm.
And when you were on the other side of the table, let's say, and you were the one having to tell your staff or former staff that there was going to be a change, what was it in your role as a leader at that moment that was your biggest learning?
Yeah, I would say that the better I beforehand, even though in some of this it was not my decision either as a manager to
Mm,
that we need to do these cuts that come from above, but I think that the learnings is the better I and my team had really worked on what is our vision and what is our role in this vision as a company, as a team, how we best can support this. It was also, in that sense, easier to sit there as a manager uh, presenting this, that, okay, now it's the change here. The vision is the following and so on. But it means also that there is a change in the organization and we are refocusing a bit here. And by that, it means that we need to cut down on these parts. And unfortunately, that is the part where you are working. But I think also that talking more about like that this is their role removing and they are still the good person and really with all the skills, etc. So more boosting that one. And I would say the less talking from me, the better, because it's more also asking them questions, I would say, because it's a shock, and then coming back to them many times and ask questions and listen what they say. I think that was my main important thing that I had to remember me. Like I needed to listen to what they are because it's a chaos inside of them, and maybe
mm,
they are not saying it from the first
mm.
directly.
Yeah, yeah. So I guess it's important to be very supportive in the process, even if maybe you were also going through your own chaos, maybe here
Mhm.
and there. And even if maybe you cannot understand everybody's chaos, but at least be there and offer the support.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So and of course it's not always to the manager go later on and talk about, but make sure that there is always someone that they can come and talk to, some maybe some more neutral person, because I've seen that, and I think that is from my own experience too, because when those kind of bigger changes happens in the company and people are, some is staying and some is leaving, those that are staying they are a bit afraid, what can we say, and how should we approach our colleague that has now got this information, etc. And
mm,
it
mm,
turns out that they are quiet instead. So I think having, like, sure, there is a support team around those persons, and also communicate to those that are staying,
mm, mm,
so they understand that this is not the person in per se, it's the role, and
mm,
it's it's the difference, so to say, and that
mm,
it's still a person, and we need to care about that person.
mm. Yes, yes, yes. So support and communication is very
Mm.
important. Um, is there something that, whether you as a manager at the time, or you having been told that your role didn't exist, is there something that you wish you would have done differently, or would have been done differently by the organization?
Well, as I said, I think that uh, the better, if from my own perspective in that, I think that I needed to learn a bit about this, like separating identity and
Hmm.
role,
Okay.
etc. I think, but I think that was the learning I needed to do in that sense.
Hmm. Hmm.
So yeah, I'm not sure if I could have done it differently or
Hmm.
such at this point. I think it was more what I took from that with other, because organization change happens all the time.
Yes.
Sometimes
Hmm.
there is a lot of them in a short while, etc. And but I think it's focus more on, okay, why are we doing this? We want to achieve following, and like, this is the company. Maybe in the future we will collaborate again, and I
Mm.
think that is the most important too, because they in in the debt collection world where I come from,
Mhm.
we are in a small pond. So it means that someone that's leaving one company today, they will end up in another company tomorrow, and there can be collaborations. But if there is hostility in that, then that is not a good. So in both, in all, there needs to depart as friends in a good
Mm.
way,
Mm.
uh,
Mm.
because there will be a future maybe client, or a future collaboration partner.
Mhm. I think it's very good at that moment, even if, as I was saying at the beginning, a change mean like moving in the unknown. I think it's good, as you said, like to kind of give a picture of the future, or say this is our vision in the future, so that even if at the moment it's difficult maybe to grasp, to understand, and there are high emotions and maybe anger and whatever, that at least there's something that they can look at, they
Yeah,
are being offered. Mm, mm,
I was leading a big transformation project at a company where we had to outsource, like, a full team that I have been part of building up
mm,
during a few years. And of course, I had really attachment to them, and they were my team members, etc. But for the good, this was a good move in that sense. And of course, it was really hard the day when we presented it, etc. But during the coming month, when we met up in different discussions, etc., the whole team that now was moving, the one that I was most proud of to hear was that those that was moving, they said, "Yeah, but hey, it's still the same vision. We can now help in
mm,
another way, and we can contribute continuously in this. We will still work with, like, the same tasks, etc. But of course, we get money from someone else.
mm,
But we can now contribute actually more through this, because we get more um, help and assistance from this angle. So that was I was most proud of, and that's why I say that it's really important that you know what your vision is in that sense, and what the role is that you have in this, and how you can contribute.
Yes, yes, yes. Very good. Now, maybe people watching now or who will watch the replay who will maybe be involved in some kind of a change going forward. And I'd like to know, which advice would you give to an individual who's leading a team and has to go through a change, needs to deal with high emotions and conflicts within his or her team? What would be maybe um, your number one advice that you would give to someone who has to go through that?
Yeah, I would say that have individual conversations, and a lot of them, and
Hmm.
ask
Hmm.
more questions than
Hmm.
talk,
Hmm. Yeah.
and
Okay.
listen to them. Because I think if there is a person that is really shocked or frustrated
Hmm.
or whatever, let that person speak
Hmm.
uh, to you, and think more. It's more the shock or anger that is speaking, rather than they are putting that on you as a manager or such.
Mm. 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 I
So
can
they
imagine.
feel some safety in that sense.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, give them safety. Yes, I can imagine that for you it was kind of a period when, when you have days like this, you have these conversations that are maybe not the funniest conversation you've ever had before. Huh? It can be quite draining, I guess. So,
Yeah.
what did you do for yourself, let's say, to to keep your energy as you, as a human being, as a leader of that team?
Yeah, I needed to take long walks in that sense. So I needed to switch off from work in that sense, and also not plan too much things
Mm-hmm.
during that time, I would say, so that
Okay.
I could de-stress a bit in that sense.
Mm-hmm.
um, and then more focus on, and telling myself, I would say also that um, this is I'm doing this as in my role,
Mm-hmm.
and this is, so I had to remind myself as well, and that it's not me they are directly irritated on, or angry at or such.
Mm-hmm.
It's more, it's my responsibility to tell them. So
Yeah,
that,
inform them.
yeah.
Mm, yeah, yeah. Mm. Um, you have observed maybe also, from maybe other friends or clients, people who have gone through changes in organizations. What do you think? Maybe you've already mentioned this, but what do you think that in organizations need to improve to successfully implement change?
I think that they need to actually more focused also why they are doing it.
Hmm.
What is the long term goal of this?
Hmm.
In that
Hmm.
sense, it's
Hmm.
hard to take it just in the short term,
Hmm.
but it's more understanding the reasoning in that
Um,
sense.
yes,
Um, so
and communicate it, I guess. Like, I mean, communicate it clearly.
yeah, and I think it's not communicating just once. It's so
Hmm.
many times. I think they say like 7 times you need to repeat something before it actually comes through.
Hmm.
But I think it's also painting beforehand, in that painting the future, because I think it's the better you feel like this. I understand the vision, and I understand where we are heading, and how more visible it is, and touchable, if we take it like that. then I think it's easier also to adjust to that. Okay, so going forward, I'm not part of this, or I'm more in sideline here.
Hmm. Hmm. If we just come back to you when you were told that, okay, tomorrow your position is not there anymore. Of course, you played like very cool, but like the next days after that, what did you go through as like internal emotions, and what did you do with that?
Yeah, but I was sitting at home crying and that kind of, and was really sad about this. And then I was, this next second I was so angry, and so I really went through all those emotions. So yeah, that was a process actually,
Mhm.
but it took me, I think, 2 3 days in some way. At that point, I felt like, no, I don't want to stay here. This is definitely not helping me at all. So okay, what can I? Where should I focus more and take one change? And I think one of the good parts in at least the system we have here in Sweden is that you normally have a couple of months before you actually need to have a new job. So you normally have a couple of months to a bit adjust what
Mhm.
you should do, and you have a salary and something economical safety there.
Mhm. Mhm.
So for me, that became a good place to start. Really, okay, what do I really want? What is most important now, and how should I adjust it
Mhm.
going forward?
Mm, mm. Yeah, I appreciate that you took the time to acknowledge your emotions and then, from there, like make a move forward. Uh, I don't want to stay there. At least I want to discover something else. Mm.
I talked to another person like last week, and we were discussing this as well. And I think she had a good picture about this. Like it's like a divorce, like
Mhm. Yeah, I
you are
think so.
making a divorce from your partner in some way. You have been investing so much time in this company, etc. And yes, of course, you can feel betrayed and everything in that
Of
sense. So
course. Yes.
yeah, but
And mm.
it's the change is there,
Mhm, 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 mhm,
so we just need to accept it in some way
mhm.
as well.
Yeah. Yeah, in that moment you can't control it anymore, so you need to focus on what you can control, I
Yeah,
think. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the analogy with a divorce is very good, because you losing something, you losing maybe not only the links, the colleagues, your identity that you had, but you were also seeing a future at this place. So that
Mm,
whole picture moving forward, all of a sudden it's not there anymore. One
exactly.
can say, wow, it's open to everything, but at the same time, it's like, to what?
Yeah.
Mm, mm, yeah, yeah, very good analogy. Mhm. I find it interesting when you started to say at the beginning, yeah, in Sweden, when you introduce yourself in settings with friends or with different people, you always say, "Hello, my name is Carolyn, and I'm what a coach or whatever," And but it's not only in Sweden. I think it's in many countries.
Mm,
I always try not to say it, because I used to be also like you. I would identify myself very strongly to what I was doing and to the employer to where I was working.
mm,
um, so nowadays, I don't say what I will answer if someone asks me, but it's like, okay, I'm gonna try just to be Carolyn here today, whatever this means. Of course, if it's a work setting and I'm meeting clients and stuff, I will play more my role, let's say.
mm,
But in other settings where I feel like, oh, my job doesn't have anything to do here, I first don't say anything. So I've learned as well here. Mm, mm. Thank you so much for sharing this. I have a question for the audience before we move on to the second part of our conversation. And I don't know if people listening now or even people watching the replay, you can always use the comments. Um, my question is, what do you think organizations need to improve to successfully implement change? From what you have observed, or maybe from what you have heard from friends or from colleagues, what do you think organizations need to improve to successfully implement change? We've spoken about this already, Hannah and I. Maybe it's also your opinion, but from your own perspective, what you have experienced or seen, what do you think should be improved?
I believe there is many answers on that one.
Yes, yes, yes. Takes a few seconds before we see the answers here in the chat. So maybe we can, maybe I can move on a little bit, and then we'll check. I'll have an eye on the answers. Because now for the second part of the conversation, I would like to talk more about changes that were more voluntary, we can say. We could say that we're still in a professional settings, because I have been through many changes in my professional life, but also in my private life, with Canada, Germany, Sweden, Portugal. I'm not going to go through all the details, but maybe one thing that had happened to me is that was a significant change that changed my curve, let's say, is that I was working in Stockholm as a consulting actuary, and it was in November, I think it was even November 2007. And we were very busy working, calculating pension liabilities. Um, for various multinationals. And we were very busy every year from September through February. And it's November 2007. It's Monday morning. I opened an Excel spreadsheet to continue calculating these some pension liabilities for a client, things I was doing mostly on a daily basis during that period of time. And I felt sick to my stomach. And I thought, this is maybe only today, like maybe there's a virus in the air. And the next day, the same thing, the next day, the whole week. And I realized there's something I can't watch anymore. I cannot do it anymore the way I used to, like with, wow, numbers. It's just felt like, oh no, I can't see these numbers. So I was in a role that was flexible enough so that I could delegate a lot of the number crunching items in Excel. And I focus more on leading the different projects, on communicating with the clients and with the different subsidiaries. So this is what I realize I'm good at, and I can still do that. And was thinking maybe it's the direction I should take if I can't look at Excel spreadsheets anymore, because I was still thinking, if I can't do that anymore, what will I do, So, and I was thinking, okay, just every day, take one day at a time, make sure you finish the season until the end of February, and then look at what your next vision could be. That's what a little bit how I was working at, thinking about the time. So when February came, I really realized I need to change, and I need to do something where I don't look at Excel spreadsheet too much anymore. This was a criteria at the time, and where I would work more with people. This was like my vision, less number crunching, more with people, more with communication. So I talked with friends, I looked around, I spoke with headhunters, went to different interviews, and sometimes how life is, was just meeting friends, German friends, even though I was living in Stockholm, and I was telling them, well, I'm looking to change a little bit. I still have my knowledge. I've not lost it, but I want to change the focus. And this one friend said, I just switched to internal audit, and we need exactly someone with your qualifications. I said, what? So the Monday she spoke with her boss. The Tuesday I got an appointment for an interview, and I think on the Friday it was an interview, and then I got the job. So sometimes, things just happen this quickly, but at the same time, we need to know a little bit the direction and speak with people because they are there and they help us sometimes. Oh, most of the time. I need to admit in that change, that I had some resistance before I signed this contract. I had it on my table and I was waiting and waiting. And one day a friend called me and she said, have you signed? Because at the same time, it meant going back to Germany because I had lived there before. And so, it was a big change. It was leaving a country, leaving a company, and also leaving that's what I knew to move towards like more qualitative kind of work instead of quantitative. So I was resistant to sign, but I did sign it. So, yes, I moved to Germany, 15 months in internal audit. I think I opened an Excel spreadsheet once, which met my criteria. And after that, I was offered to become head of operational risk and reporting within the risk management department. And at the time, I had no idea about these topics, but I knew, okay, I'll have my team, they are the experts. And my intention for me and my team, my vision was really like to be the best leader to myself and to my team and to learn out of that. And it was a very steep learning curve. And of course, after 6 years, what happened? I needed variety. So that's why I started my own company and my work as coach and mentor and keynote speaker. So, which also has been a steep learning curve. So, for me and all of that, I always interpret change, especially when I go through it, like it's learning, even if it's messy, even if it's difficult, if it hurts, it's learning, because everything that I learn each day, it just keep it with me. Nobody else can take it away from me. And I think that it's irrelevant whether it's voluntary or involuntary. Well, if it's involuntary, I think there's much more emotions in such a situation. If it's voluntary, I like to say take baby steps, small steps.
Mm.
That's what I had done when I realized, oh, I can't do this anymore. Like, and when it's a little bit clearer, try to have a mini vision or a goal, even if it's for only a few months, like you stick to that,
Mm.
like, and then you make your baby steps. And then once it gets even more clearer, you can make bigger steps towards that vision. So I think that yeah, we always evolve in that sense, and it's through change that we can do so. Mm, mm. And Hannah, you also recently made the switch to starting your own business, and this is a huge change in one's life. And it's not many who dare to try it. And here I'm not judging this, but
Mm.
which aspects of that change do you find the most challenging?
Well, starting my own business, it's of course it's in some way the insecurity of will there be any money at the end, so to say. So yeah, but uh, it I think that is of course, but at the end, one it's like, am I not risking anything? I don't know how it will happen either.
Mm,
So that's also because I think for me, I actually was standing in a room like 2 years before my actual decision was made. That and I was then blurting out that okay, I want to start my own business, and I had no time frame on that one. I had said something like in when I'm 55, I will do that, and at
mm,
that point, I think I was like 44 or something like that.
mhm,
But so I had said it out loud that in the future I will do this. And then when this there were actually due to reorganization at the company I was working that made me to really take the final step.
mm,
And when I was looking at the options I had, I thought that okay, if I go with other options, I don't think that I will. I will not go in my vision, or I will not feel good taking them for a longer time. So, okay, it's time now. Now
mm.
it's daring to do it. So, yeah, at that point, I said, I go with this. I quit here, and let's see where it leads. So,
Mm, mhm. I had a similar experience. For me, it was also like an impulse, like it's now or never, because I had it also in the back of my mind for quite a while, and then it's like, okay, it's now or never, and I have to try.
yeah, and I think it's you're calm when you're taking. At least I was that. I was rather calm when I had taken it and exciting in that sense, and I was not afraid. That
Mm,
was a strange feeling in that sense. That even though
mhm,
I know that there's a lot of insecurity, but I was calm, and that is a proof for me at least that I'm doing it the right way. It's this is the direction I want to test out.
yeah, yeah, I fully agree. Yeah,
Mm.
it felt aligned
Yeah,
with your life right now. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
And hey, well, you can apply for other jobs later on. So
yeah, yeah.
there is a lot of work. So, so it's if that would be that scenario. But as you say, it's learning curve in
Mhm.
all types. If we would apply for a new job, that would also be a new learning curve
Yes.
for
Hmm.
us. And
Hmm.
you are
Yeah.
not perfect from the first day. So
No.
it's just
Mhm.
seeing like I'm testing this, I'm learning this. So
Yes. Yes. I see we have some answers from the question before, and I had asked, what do you think organizations need to improve to successfully implement change? And Angelica wrote, communicate 3 times more than you thought you had to. Yeah,
mm,
I think that's a very good point. And Anna wrote, improve the work life balance for employees. I guess in a time of maybe chaos or change or insecurity, that's also a very good item.
mm,
Um, just a small things because we only have 10 minutes left. I have lived in different countries, and I think that depending on where you live, you can notice from the culture whether people are change averse or maybe change seeking. Maybe not change seeking, but change neutral, more neutral. And I was reflecting on how I have observed this in Sweden and how I have observed this in Germany. And I would say, generally, from what I've observed, that Swedes are less change averse than Germans. But this is just, out of my own experience. I don't know if, Hannah, you have observed this with maybe other countries that you've worked with, or.
well, I have not thought about it in that sense,
Hmm.
but I think we Swedish people, at least, we want to be individual. That we have that reputation. So I think it's like owning your own destiny in that sense. So maybe that's, and also that we have rather good, stable economy in general here. So you can try out things and so on. So I think that's maybe why we Swedish maybe are a bit uh, trying out and checking
Hmm.
if this works. But yeah,
Hmm.
I'm not sure.
More.
But I have, I think, since I have been working in IT, like change, that is constant there. Like
Mm.
even though that they say that we just will remain with the same system, etc. But all those systems must be updated constantly. That
Yes.
is like
Mm.
normal day.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
maybe it's due to that, and they want to develop in IT. So I think maybe I'm a bit. I have been just around those kind of people that like change and develop, etc. So
Well, I worked, yeah, in Germany for so many years, more in the reinsurance business, and it's quite traditional. So maybe I also made an experience that was rather on a very change averse side, which may not be the 100% reflection of Germany overall. I don't know, but it was just something that I had observed. Um, Hannah, if you would we would reflect and thinking more about change from an individual perspective, what would be your top 3 tips to become better at embracing change even?
yeah, I think it having the mantra that I'm trying out, I'm
Hmm.
learning. So
Hmm.
and everything that doesn't go as well, yeah, it's not a mistake. It's just something I've learned.
Hmm.
So and try something else. So I think that is one thing that is good in all kinds. Take small steps in that sense.
Hmm.
And I think also like actually take time to think about what is the most important for me, like, and also like what is my vision for my life in that sense. So
Hmm.
what is the
Hmm.
key importance here? Because be clear on that, then it's also easier to take those decisions that
Hmm.
this is the step I'm taking now.
Hmm.
And then of course also I talked about in the beginning, like identity. I'm still a value, even though I don't have this role or such. So separate the role from
Hmm.
your identity, I think. But it's a challenge. I slip into that track as
Hmm.
well. But
Hmm.
I think the better we are to remove performance from identity, so to say, the more joy is there,
Hmm.
and easier to embrace change in that sense.
Hmm. Hmm. I,
What
I
is
fully
your
agree.
tip?
Yeah, I fully agree. And I think change is also a very good opportunity to self reflect and
Mm,
look at the bigger picture, as
mm.
also, as you mentioned, what's important for me. Mm.
Yeah, and be thankful for what was
Yes.
already there,
Hmm.
because sometimes we forget what we already have,
Yes.
and to stop up say like I'm real thankful for this, and
Hmm.
that I want to keep going forward
Yes.
too.
And for the experiences, for the knowledge
Mm.
that we have gathered, the skills and so on, this doesn't
Yeah,
go away, you know.
exactly.
Yeah, yeah. I have a last question to our audience. Which one of these tips will you start using as of now, or which one of these tips didn't think of so far? Now, maybe you don't have to go through change tomorrow, but surely at some point you will, I guess.
Yeah, maybe you're standing in a change, and
Yeah,
at this moment that can be also, and feel like
yeah,
I'm lost. Where should I go? I'm stuck here.
yeah.
Maybe as well.
Mm. Mm.
Just one, take like, what is my plus one, so to say? What is the
Yeah.
next try I will do? So, yeah.
Uh-huh. Takes a little while before we see the answers. We can get back to that, but my feel I maybe my I won't say my last word, but what I would like to say is next time that change is imminent in your life, like whether it's your own decision or it's not, when I need to leave some parts of the known behind me and discover the unknown in front of me. I want to give you one tip, and you take a piece of paper and a pen and you write down the word change. Yeah, you just write this down. And once you've done it, observe really carefully what I will do. You remove or you delete the small L, like I do. This is a small L. And then you get the chance to discover and embrace what's ahead. Change, chance. It's quite well, we don't speak it the same.
Mm.
Change, chance. It's a bit different, but it's very close. And the C and the G, it's my name. CG Force. I can be very creative.
Yeah, yeah, I like it. That was a new one, so I love it.
um, um, Hannah, thank you so much for being here today together with me. It was a wonderful conversation. I think I would like to put in the chat. You have something that you would like to share that people can download. It's a workbook, I think. Um,
Yes. So let me see. I,
I will
maybe I
put it
can do
here.
this. So, if you, that by the chance, are thinking of making a change, that can be, and or you are in a change process right now and don't really know where your next move would be. So then you can get a workbook to a bit help you to get like, this is what currently state is, and this is where I want to go at. And a short exercise in like 20 minutes, then you can have a clarity on what we'll try out for next step. So I hope it can be helpful for you.
Mhm. Thank you, Hannah. I just saw that I cannot post any comments here in the streaming platform we are on. I will write the link on LinkedIn and also on YouTube for sure, so that everybody, you can download Hannah's future book and even ask her questions if you have any moving forward.
Yeah, and you are
Um,
welcome to connect with me on LinkedIn as well.
mhm, mhm.
My name is, in that sense, easy to find. So, so I'm happy to connect.
Mhm, mhm. Same for me. If you're watching this later, if you're not connected with me on LinkedIn, make sure you do. You can follow my channels on Instagram, on YouTube. I think, Hannah, you are on Instagram. Are you on YouTube too?
Yeah,
Yes?
well, I'm there, but with my company name, Migmatit. So, uh,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, okay, okay. And you can watch. I made many lives in the last years on very interesting topic. One of them was if you go from no time to showtime. It's the change when all of a sudden you don't have work anymore, whether you retired or you were made redundant. Time to recharge. How sexy is AI was the last one. So there's a lot to choose from if you are interested to know more. And I just see that Anna, not Hannah, but Anna wrote in the chat as a key takeaway from her. take a chance to change. So I think it summarizes everything. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Thank you very much also if you are watching the replay. Thank you, Hanna, again. All the very best to everybody. And I'll see you soon again. Ciao.
Bye bye.